Welcome back to Special Report. A topic not often discussed is our children, especially those who grow up in disaffected environments, be it foster care, guardianship, or understate care.
AbleChild is a national parents' rights organization dedicated to protecting full informed consent and the right to refuse psychiatric services. AbleChild recently called attention to a Massachusetts audit of the Department of Children and Families, which found that the DCF did not always obtain court authority for the DCF to administer psychotropic medications to children in its custody. And joining us now is a whistleblower on this audit, Sheila Matthews. Sheila, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me and bringing focus to this issue of children in foster care.
Well, thank you for everything that you're doing as well, Sheila. I mean, this audit is pretty alarming to know that DCF gave an astounding number of psychotropic medications without court consent. How is this possible?
It is possible because pharmaceutical companies are managing foster care right now with the psychiatric industry, and they won't let organizations like myself in there, human rights organizations, to question these numbers. There's the sampling they did, 22% of the children were on multiple psychiatric drugs.
Wow.
And it's alarming because they are increased risk of suicide and homicide, violence, hallucinations, and these are young children that have no choice, and the workers there are not doing the proper information on their passports, their medical passports. And the fact of the matter is that Massachusetts is the only one who's doing an audit, actually, and they failed it. And what we hear is promises. We are going to handle this, but HHS, Health and Human Services, back in 2011 put out a GAO report that said basically the same thing that they're saying now. Multiple children on psychiatric drugs. Children are dying. This is a crisis. This is a mental health crisis. And without informed consent and the courts not even being allowed to look at their records, the mismanagement, we need change, and we need it now. We've been trying to get this for many, many years, and these children are trapped here.
So Sheila, is this a great example of how Big Pharma's stranglehold of the state and its liberal usage of these drugs can have tremendously adverse effects on children who can't consent themselves and when courts weren't even notified?
Exactly. And then they have behavioral health committees that are stacked with the pharmaceutical companies, and they're the ones who are making the decisions on the drug formulas. And also, it's so subjective. There's no way to determine whether this child has this label. There's no blood test, there's no brain scans, so it's very subjective. If a psychiatrist has a contract with the state, they get more money the more children they get on these psychiatric drugs. So there's no oversight.
So Massachusetts and Florida are the only states that both do these audits. How does that work? Why those two?
Well, because back in our organization went to the FDA, we got the help with many organizations to get the black box suicide warnings on these antidepressants. And so we started raising issues, AbleChild and Children's Health Defense, Bobby Kennedy's group. And what we were trying to do, and CCHR, we were trying to raise this issue. So back then they started to do these audits, but they're failing the audits, and the mainstream media won't bring it up. So I thank you guys, because children need us to make the changes necessary. It should be automatic that all these audits are done across the country.
Well, it's just alarming to me that 48 other states don't do them, and the two that did them failed.
Exactly.
You mentioned Bobby Kennedy. He was just confirmed as a nomination for HHS. So does that give you hope that things are going to change?
It totally gives us hope, because he's been on this SSRI issue, and he's concerned about our children's health, and we want a discussion about it. We want to have federal hearings on the link between psychiatric drugs and these mass shootings. He gets it. He understands. So we're hopeful that this new administration, our organization has been through multiple presidencies. You know, we worked on the No Child Left Behind. We've been left behind. These kids are being left behind. And Trump wants, the right to try buy drugs. We want safe, effective drugs. We want the right to refuse drugs, and we want the right for information about the drugs so we can make our own informed decisions.
Well,
Sheila,
thank you.
before we let you go, where can people find out more information?
Sure, ablechild.org. I really appreciate you having us on, and please come in and visit our website. We have a tremendous amount of information for parents.
Well, thank you, Sheila, for bringing attention to this very important issue. We
Thank
appreciate
you
you for being here.
both very
Sheila.
much.